Hello everyone, welcome to Business. Yesterday, the 1st of July, should have been Africa's big trade reset, a historic deal to smash down tariff barriers within the continent. And that is on hold now because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the slow pace of negotiations. Country Director of KUSI International, APPIAH, has been reacting to that.
Pandemic has caused a lot of inconvenience to global trading. And with this issue, the African Union has decided to defer the commencement of the trading to next year. No new firm date has come yet, but we are very sure that within the second quarter, later by the second quarter of 2021, trading will start. And of course, it also gives member countries time to patch up all outstanding issues with regards to rules of engagement and other protocols that have not been finalized. But again, this deferment has also taken away the kind of enthusiasm that we African countries had prior to the virus. But I want to say that though the AFCFTA is not starting, at the regional level, people are trading because from Ghana to Togo, trucks are moving. And ECOWAS has ensured that we allow goods to be able to move across borders.
But not in the volumes that you expect. I mean, it's not as we used to have or what you expect to happen. I mean, the trading across the borders and volumes that you're talking about.
Yes, of course, the COVID restriction has also affected volume of produce that can come out from various assembly lines. And so, but at least it's still a sign of encouragement because here, when you go to a market in Accra, for example, you can get the Burkinabe tomatoes. And it tells you that we are still trading. And goods from South Africa can still come into the country through the airport. And so I think nothing has been lost that much with the deferment of the trading across member countries. I know that at least it's also giving member countries that were not very strong, that didn't have a very strong productive capacity. This crisis has also allowed them to step up their manufacturing base, waiting for the actual commencement of the trading. So I think it has in it some blessing and also some curse. And I think that we need to look at the positive side of what this crisis has brought to us by allowing countries to trade without any restriction would have been the best. But you know that goods cannot move without human beings.
So the world is in a grip of a crisis, and policymakers now have to make decisions based on data, putting pressure on agencies tasked with such responsibilities. The Ghana Statistical Service says the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed challenges to do with logistics and human resource. Here is government statistician Professor KOBINA ANIM explaining some of the realities statisticians are facing now in an interview with the United Nations Department of Economics and Social Affairs.
So within Ghana Statistical Service, one of our main challenges had to do with the realization of what is now called the new world that we find ourselves in. So as GS, I had the responsibility to let colleagues know that things are not as usual, so there is the need for us to begin to adapt based on our resources. The other challenge had to do with, if you want to do it, do you have the capacity to do it, both human and financial resources? This was really the case because since we had to deploy new ways of working, specifically working from home, it came with challenges as in whether all staff, for instance, had access to data, all staff, for instance, have home environments that they could turn around easily to make them work environment, and whether all the staff had basic facilities such as laptop for them to work with. So we needed to think about the adaptation from a resource point of view. And as I said, it had to do with both financial and human. The human side was more of whether our technological setup would give us the opportunity to harness the full need for the use of ICT in the world of COVID-19. The other thing is we internally had to think about how we reorganize and refocus ourselves in the space of COVID-19, because definitely it came up with different sets of demands, different sets of expectations. So one challenge was whether we could quickly readjust, refocus, re-strategize in order to meet these challenges. At the national level, it was much more challenging for us because this was a period where a lot of policymakers were looking up to Ghana Statistical Service for data that hitherto we didn't think it was our responsibility. I mean, a typical example is whether we had ventilators to accommodate any increase in infections, whether we have adequate hospital beds to address the challenge, and whether the diversity of data that is needed, we can really set ourselves forward for it. So the expectations from the national side also impacted on whether, as GSS, we are in a position to respond adequately for it.
Then that's it for business. Daryl, thank you very much for joining us